This video is brought to you by Brilliant. With less than 3 weeks until polling day, things are getting spicy in the UK general election campaign. The Conservative campaign is still floundering, with both the Liberal Democrats and Reform slowly creeping up behind them in the polls. Now, while this could be good for the Lib Dems, with some polls suggesting that Ed Davey could even end up as leader of the opposition, this is only possible thanks to the effect of Reform UK. A YouGov poll from this week actually put Reform ahead of the Conservatives for the first time, with Reform on 19 points and the Tories on 18 points. From Farage's standpoint, there is currently little reason to agree to any pact or merger with the Conservative Party. His intention is to kill it as an electoral force, as the Canadian Reform Party did to the Progressive Conservatives in 1993, and this can only be done by standing against them in the election. Once the Tories have been weakened by their poor performance in the election, Farage could opt to try and reshape the weakened party in his own image, perhaps by leading a new right-wing party, one that's created from a merger between his own Reform UK party and the Conservatives. In fact, this is something Farage himself said he'd be open to in an interview with Nick Ferrari earlier this week.
I've intervened because we need a coherent voice of opposition in Parliament and in the country. And do you know what, Nick? I believe I can do that better than the current Conservative Party.
Can you tell me that one day you might lead the Conservative Party, or can you rule it out if the ball would come out of the back of the scrum?
I think something new is going to emerge on the centre-right. I don't know what it's called. But do I think I'm capable of leading a national opposition to a Labour Party with a big majority where I can stand up and hold them to account on issues? Yes.
Well, let's say it's called conform or
whatever. Yes.
So a merged party, you would be happy to lead a merged party?
Yes.
Would you be happy to lead the Conservative Party?
Well, not as it currently is. I mean, I wouldn't even... No. Look,
if it were reworked, Mr. Farage...
They may be dead. They may well be dead. This may well be the end of their journey.
So in this video, we're going to explain a little bit of background on the Canadian Reform Party and how they took down the Progressive Conservatives, how Farage hopes to emulate this, and whether a merged Reform Conservative Party could actually exist. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. Now, as we mentioned in the intro, essentially what Farage is trying to do with his Reform UK party is emulate the success of the Reform Party in Canada in 1993, who ended up merging with the Progressive Conservatives to become the main right-wing party in the country. So let's have a very quick history lesson. Essentially, the well-established right-wing party in Canada in the early 1990s was the Progressive Conservatives, a party that was just coming to the end of its second term in 1993. They were, though, deeply unpopular, thanks to the failure of the Meech Lake Accords and the Charlottetown Accords, both attempts to get Quebec to endorse the Canadian Constitution. As such, the Progressive Conservatives experienced a push from both the left, in the form of sovereigntist Bloc Québécois, and from the right, in the form of the Reform Party. The Reform Party was a populist party and attacked the Progressive Conservatives for putting taxes up and their support for socially progressive causes. Their leader, Preston Manning, was also hugely popular with the public. The Liberal Party won the election, with Bloc Québécois becoming the official opposition. More interestingly for this video though, the Progressive Conservatives were reduced to a mere 2 seats, down from the 154 that they won in the previous election. They were all but wiped out and never recovered from this defeat. Reform, on the other hand, went from a single seat in the previous election up to 52 seats and actually went up to 60 seats in the 1997 election, becoming the second party. In essence, they'd killed the Progressive Conservatives. Reform actually then went on to merge with the Progressive Conservatives in 2000. Now, as you could probably tell throughout the mini-history lesson, there are many parallels between that and the situation the Conservatives currently find themselves in. Polling is suggesting that Reform are neck and neck with the Tories, with one poll, as we mentioned in the intro, even putting them ahead. It's worth pointing out here, though, that even if this poll is correct, and assuming a uniform national swing, then Reform would get only 4 seats, way behind the Tories' 68. Now, this isn't to say that Reform couldn't still have influence. The Tories would still have lost more than 300 seats, and this would have largely been a result of the success of Reform UK. Many senior Tories would likely be asking themselves what they could do to try and stop such a disaster from being repeated, with some coming to the conclusion that the best thing to do would be to agree to some sort of deal with Nigel Farage. To be fair, we're actually seeing some senior figures within the Conservative Party come to this conclusion already. Only last week, Suella Braverman told The Times that the Conservative Party in the future needs to find some way to work together with Reform, because there shouldn't be big differences between us. Now, what she meant by this was that Farage should be welcomed into the Conservative Party, not necessarily that the parties should merge. However, considering that we're still in the campaign, there's no way that Braverman would, right now, advocate for such a merger. There's a possibility that Braverman and other Conservatives could agree to a merger if the Tory defeat is as large as the YouGov poll suggests, and Farage refuses to simply join the Tories. Or conversely, Farage could still do well in the election, but just not quite as well as the most recent YouGov poll suggests. Farage could reason that his best chance for power in this scenario is to take Braverman up on her offer and join a weakened but not totally destroyed Conservative Party. He may even opt to run in the leadership election, something that right-wingers in the party would be delighted about, and change the party from within, making it something similar to his Reform Party. After all, historically, Farage has not been totally wedded to any political party, having been a member of the Conservative Party, UKIP, the Brexit Party, and now Reform UK. It's also worth noting that the current Reform Party is set up more like a business than a party. There are no leadership elections, and Farage can basically do with it as he likes. In fact, Companies House shows that Farage is the only shareholder in the party with significant control, with Tom McTague at Unheard claiming that Farage has 8 of the 15 shares in the party. Reform UK can be seen then as simply a vehicle for Farage, one in which he doesn't need to worry about pesky democracy getting in the way of his plans. The point is that if Reform doesn't succeed in completely destroying the Conservatives in this election, then there's a very real chance he could jump ship. Reform isn't the be-all and end-all for Farage, and appears more like a vehicle for his ambitions. Anyway, to summarise, what Farage ends up doing really depends on exactly how well Reform does in the election. The more votes they get, the stronger their position in the next Parliament, and the more likely Farage is to be the bigger player in any agreement between Reform and the Tories. Now, understanding exactly what has or is going to happen here can be a little tricky, requiring you to evaluate lots of information from different, often partial sources. It would be sensible then to begin improving your critical thinking skills so that you can keep sharp and better understand what's going on. And well, our sponsor Brilliant.org can help you do just that. Brilliant is the online learning platform that's designed specifically to teach you everything from maths, data analysis, programming, and AI from the ground up. You don't need a fancy degree or to have dedicated hundreds of hours to studying any of these. All you need is a device with an internet connection and a few spare minutes a day. And with your spare few minutes, you'll learn by actually doing, with Brilliant providing hands-on lessons that let you play around with concepts, a method that has been shown to be 6 times more effective than just watching lectures. What makes this even better is that this content is created by an award-winning team of teachers, researchers, and professionals from MIT, Caltech, Duke, Microsoft, and more. You can try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days. Just click on the link in the description. That way you'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.